And welcome back, peeps. From that break, we are here in the JJ Zone, Join the Journey Radio today, talking about Elder Ochoa's address from the last General Conference entitled, Is the Plan Working? And we're talking about this idea of, you know, singles looking at their lives and saying, I don't think the plan's working because I don't have the blessings in my life that I think I should have. And I love the song that was playing over the break. It's a little different, okay? I'll say that, okay, Fiddlesticks doesn't perform um, what I would call the best rendition of Be Still My Soul, but I played it over the break because the way that they perform it, it sounds very medieval. I mean, if you've like delved into like music of the Middle Ages, uh, it sounds like it comes from that time area, and in that sense, it's kind of haunting and enchanting. And so I wanted to do something a little different, okay, and that's kind of why I played it over the break, because I want us to think in different terms and different ways about the challenges that we LDS singles face in our lives. This whole idea of "Be Still My Soul," okay, presented in a different format, okay. My intention is to get us to kind of jar us out of our usual rut so we can think in new and different ways. Because the concept of "Be Still My Soul" is very apropos to what we're talking about when we're asking these questions about, is the plan working? Well, many LDS singles look at their lives, they see that they're single, they see that they've been single longer than they really want to be, and they conclude, and I believe that conclusion is erroneous, that the plan isn't working. Well, it's easy for us to conclude that God's plan for eternity is not working when this, thing called eternal companionship doesn't pop up in our lives, because we know from the doctrine, right? We know from the doctrine what the church teaches that if you're gonna progress into exaltation, then you got to be sealed to your wife and your posterity. And of course, if you don't have that, then you know, you end up, no higher than second level of the celestial kingdom in which, you're an angel for eternity. And, I think with that in mind, okay, it's easy for us to think that God's plan's not working. But again, as I was saying before the break, there's really two plans at work here. And the issue between the two is one of timing, because again, if you're just looking at this life, okay, you're not really looking at God's plan that He made for all of His children for all eternity, as much as you are looking for the plan that you likely made for you for this life. That's what you're really looking at. So that plan may not be working, but just because the plan that you made to secure your happiness in this life isn't working, doesn't mean that the plan that God made for all His children for all eternity is not working. The one can be working when the other isn't. Okay. The difficulty here, especially when you're talking about eternal marriage, is that eternal marriage for LDS singles is a large part of their plan that they make for mortality, and a large important part of the plan of happiness that our Heavenly Father made for all of His children for all eternity. So it's easy to get the two plans of happiness confused and say that God's plan isn't working because I didn't get married when I wanted to be married. It's really easy to have that confusion, but we need to distinguish between the two. I really do. And this is where, having that individualized relationship with the Savior can prove extremely helpful. Okay, because when you partner with the Lord, He can teach you and help you to see, help and show you the differences between those two plans, the plan you make for your life to what you think will bring you happiness, and the plan that he has that he knows will actually make you happy. And so, you know, when Elder Ochoa is talking about the plan of happiness in his conference address, he's not making that distinction. And this, I think, was part of the reason why I felt such dissonance from his address, because he's not making that distinction, right? So I'm thinking there are a lot of singles who are looking at this and thinking, what are you talking about? I mean, the answer that we typically get when we try to describe these challenges of, gee, I expected to have this blessing in my life and I don't have it. And when singles, are in that position, usually we're talking about, hey, I want to be married and I'm not. I mean, usually what we get told is you just need more church. You just need more spirit. You need more service. You need to get closer to Jesus. You need to, be a better disciple. You just need more church. And, I've never found that response to be very responsive, quite frankly. I've never really felt that, um, the joy we get in life is by ignoring the problems that we have in our lives and just focusing on something completely different and hoping that the problems we have will go away. It, I don't think real life works like that. I think real life is, hey, we need something that attacks the actual root of the problem. And for many of us, the root of the problem is up here in our head, because what we're really complaining about is results. We don't have the results that we want to have. Well, results come from action. Okay, and action comes from thinking. And thinking comes from your assumptions, your attitude, your perspective, your self talk. All these elements combine to form your thinking. This is why I say it's important for us to question our assumptions. And many LDS singles have, a couple of really big false assumptions that I'm going to tackle here right now. The first one being, hey, if I'm righteous, then I'll end up getting married. So when time goes by and they've been righteous all this time and they're not married, they start wondering, hey, where's my blessing? And some people then take the next step, are questioning their faith and start saying, well, God hasn't blessed me the way I think I should be blessed. Therefore, there must be something wrong with what I've been told about his plan. But again, you're confusing your plan for your happiness and mortality with his plan for all his children in all eternity. So we got to make that distinction. We got to get that clear. And, we got to understand that the connection you're making between righteousness and blessings is erroneous. Okay, we know from D&C 130 that whenever we receive any blessing, it's by obedience upon by obedience to the law upon which the blessing is predicated. Righteousness is not what is not the foundation for marriage. You got to sever that connection. Okay, the blessing of eternal marriage is not predicated upon keeping your covenants. We need to cut that off right now. Okay, sever that up, because there are plenty of people. I'm one of them who've been keeping covenants for decades and still don't have an eternal companion. Okay, so it's not as tight a relationship as we're assuming that it is. It is part of the equation. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't want you to make it sound like go off the deep end and be one of hell's angels, and you end up with an eternal blessing. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is it's not as direct relationship as we were assuming it to be. The real law upon which the blessing of eternal marriage is predicated has to do with an understanding of the natural man and woman and the covenant man and woman. Okay, which we've talked about on this program. We're going to get into it in more programs. I'm actually writing a book about it right now because it's so foundational, and it's a huge piece I think a lot of us are missing. And I think it's the reason why The marriage age has been part of the reason, a big part of the reason why the marriage age has been creeping up. The age at which singles first get married has been steadily increasing. There are more and more of us singles who simply aren't marrying. And I think a lot of the root cause for these problems goes back to there are laws about the natural man and woman that are in play that we're not aware of. And because we're not aware of it, it's playing off in the background and creating all these results, and we don't know what to do about it. So, there's that. The other faulty assumption that a lot of singles have relates to timing. So many LDS singles will look at their lives and they'll say, well, if I'm not married now, it must be because it's not the right time. When really what's going on is, okay, you're not obeying the law upon which the blessing you want is predicated. Okay. You're not doing the things that will make you a more attractive companion. You're not doing the things that will put you in the cross paths of someone who thinks you're acceptable enough. You're not doing the work that is consistent with the fundamentals of the dating process. And when you ignore those fundamentals, that action produces a certain result. You want to change the result, you got to change the action. So if you want the blessings of eternal marriage, you really need to be attending to the fundamentals of the dating journey, which of course we talk about here on this program as well. So those two big assumptions, right? We just got to get that off the bat. Okay. So if you don't have the blessing you want in your life, it may very well be because the timing's not right. But I'm betting dollars to donuts. There's a 99% probability that you don't have the blessing that you want because you're not getting off your duff and doing the work you need to do to secure that blessing. You don't have it because you're choosing not to have it. And a lot of us don't want to think about that. We don't want to go there. But I'm telling you, peeps, for the vast majority of us, that's exactly why we're single. And that's not going to end until we own our lives, take responsibility for the results that we have, irrespective of what other people do or don't do, and start taking more of the power that's inherent in our own agency and start doing the right things. And the right things are the things that we talk about here on this program. I'd say I'm well overdue for a break. I'm going to take that break. And when I come back from the break, I'm going to wrap up the program with some very special thoughts related to what I just shared. So we'll see you there on the other side.